first of all, context is important here. We did the merger 3 years ago to create a foundation, really, for the business that we have today, because essentially we needed to have a model where we could grow Max and HBO Max, we could stabilize the networks, we could grow the studios business. And that worked very well as an integrated organization because we were able to look at everything holistically. And we gained a lot from that, because if you look at where we are today, we have a streaming service that is profitable and growing globally. That was not the case 3 years ago. We have a movie studio that is, has had a string of hits in the last 3 movies that we've released. It's on a good run, right. And on the network side, it's a stabilized business. But the world has changed in those 3 years, and at this point in time, in order for us to realize the true value of those assets, they need to have financial and investment flexibility. And so at this stage, we are going to be making the split, as you mentioned. So on one hand, there will be the Streaming and Studios organization, which will be HBO, Warner Brothers Movies, and television and games and so on. And then on the other side will be the network's assets, which are essentially in the news, sports, and general entertainment category. And this will mean that each company, which now has a strong foundation, will be able to make the decisions that are required to maximize growth in their own part of the business going forward. So that's really the background. And in terms of how it affects us in Asia Pacific, our goals remain the same. So there's no change in the strategic goals. And frankly, in terms of the portfolio will remain the same. It's just that the networks will operate in that separate company. The key thing, a couple of things. First of all, I think that we've clearly established the positioning of the service as premium storytelling, that creates sort of buzz and talkability. So it's not an aggregator, right? I mean, Max is a service that focuses on premium storytelling. And I think that's important in the world where we are today in the streaming landscape, that identity is very clear. And the renaming to HBO Max is very much to really focus on that message.
Tell us a little bit more about Japan. You did launch Japan at APOS last September with Unext. How's that developing? Obviously, they've got a big customer base. What content verticals are driving the performance? And where do you go in Japan longer term? As we've discussed earlier today, such an incredible opportunity for streaming.
Right.
How do you see Max developing longer term there?
Right. So I think Japan is a great example of how we've chosen carefully the model that we've adopted for each market launch, depending on the circumstances. And the thing about Japan is that by working with Unext, who've done an incredible job in the last few months building up that platform, we were able to, on day one, access their entire base for Max, and secondly, sit alongside a very strong lineup of local Japanese content, right, which would frankly not have been possible if we'd simply launched our own app at that stage. So, working with them has meant that it's accelerated the growth of Max. And actually, I believe that they'll also be sharing later that by creating the Max service there and offering as a Max service, we've increased, because remember we used to license to them, right?
Yes, yes.
So that we've increased the viewing by more than 40% already from the launch, and there's obviously more content coming. So I think that we've been very happy with how that model has developed.
There's a perception that Southeast Asia has been slower generally for Max, not in terms of engagement, just in terms of working with partners. Have those glitches been solved? What's happening? What's your strategy?
Yeah. So for Southeast Asia, our growth has been quite partnership focused because of our legacy relationships with HBO channels and also HBO Go previously. So a lot of the partners who are in this room, I'd like to really acknowledge that they've really all been fantastic in in working with us to get that out, to get up and running. And the key challenge, of course, is authentications. We have bundles with most of the partners. So again, just getting that going. And I think that, you know, we have a job to do there, which is to make sure that we deliver relevance. And I think we were so pleased with the launch of White Lotus. So White Lotus, as you know, is a global phenomenon, but we made it an Asian phenomenon, and more specifically a Thai phenomenon, with the casting of Lisa Manabal for the role of Mook in White Lotus. You know, she was, you know, great character, great role, and great series. But that resonance, I mean, first of all, that made a difference everywhere in APAC in terms of the engagement, from Japan to other markets. Sure. But in Thailand, it made Thailand possibly, if not the number one of the most successful markets of White Lotus globally.
Right.
And there's no question that, you know, obviously Lisa played a big role in that.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think that the more of that kind of thing we can do, the more that we can work with our partners in the Southeast Asian markets to drive relevance.
You know, Max, you've addressed Japan, but still hasn't launched D2C in Korea or India, which are two of the largest markets outside of China and Japan. What's the strategy there? I know you have a large partnership in India, but can you address that?
So first of all, on Korea, we've always said that we won't go into a market without a clear path to profitability. So we'll look at the model at each stage. In Korea right now, we're working with Coupang Play on that. So that's the partner that we have in Korea. So the content, then again, they've really grown very fast. And that because HBO and Max is there is a rapidly growing awareness of our content in the market. So, you know, that's again something that will evolve going forward. For India, you know, previously JioCinema, JioHotstar now obviously have done such an amazing job to build that OTT segment in the premium space and also more broadly. And obviously we've been there on the journey with them for the last couple of years. So, you know, I really look forward to seeing how that evolves going forward. I think things will never stand still in India, for sure.
No,
so in the coming months, we'll see. You know, APAC is home to 2/3 of the world's population, 3 out of the 5 biggest economies. It's been a tremendous market for streaming growth. We are absolutely determined to find and serve our customers there in the coming years. So streaming growth, top priority. But that's kind of one part of the equation. The other part is that when you have a fan base and you know, you have streaming, which is essentially a fan base and IP engine that's building that, you have then the opportunity to serve that fan base.
Right.
So why wouldn't we? And ultimately, the chance to serve that fan base with experiences, consumer products, and games, it's just huge. We launched the Harry Potter Studio Tour 2 years ago in Japan.
Right.
It's still solidly booked out daily. It's still tough to get tickets. We announced a second Harry Potter Studio Tour in Shanghai, which is launching, you know, in the near future. And plus, on top of that, there are many smaller experiences that in the consumer product space for that franchise that are developing. Then you've got the TV series coming soon as well. So, you know, whether it's Harry Potter, whether it's DC, Batman, Superman movies coming, whether it's local IP, so even the anime that we produce, we're starting to develop experiences in CP around that. This is the other side of the equation. And then for us, we're at the closer to the beginning of that journey than even the middle of that journey. So we do feel like as we grow streaming, that the opportunity for experiences in CP will continue to grow as well. And that's really the focus for that part of the business going forward.